We are now live. Welcome, Councilmember Sias.
Thank you. Welcome back, Mayor.
Thank you. It's 7 p.m. I would like to call Ferrisburg City Council meeting to order tonight, Monday, February 15, 2021, 7 p.m. Pursuant to Public Act 228, the City of Ferrisburg will conduct its business via Zoom to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Members of the public are welcome and encouraged to participate in the meeting. Members of the public are not required to register or otherwise provide information to attend. Please utilize your mute function on your phone while on the conference call when appropriate. Mayor Hopp will run the virtual meeting like a regular meeting. There will be opportunities at the beginning and the end of the meeting for public comments. Pursuant to Public Act 228, each council member must declare their physical location, city, county, and state. Roll call, please.
Mayor Hopp,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember Carlson,
Present, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember Blease,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
Okay.
Councilmember Sias,
Here, City of Ferrisburg, Ottawa County, Michigan.
At this time, it's a moment of silence to remembering all of those affected by COVID-19 and all the men and women that are in uniform. And thank you. At this time, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United
States of
States of America
States of America
and
and to the republic
Public,
for which
which
it
it
stands,
stands,
one nation,
Indivisible,
under God,
liberty and justice.
indivisible, with liberty and justice
Justice
for all.
liberty for all.
Thank you. Moving down to item 5, public comment. This time on the agenda is for any citizen to direct brief comments or questions to City Council. Time for public comments will be given when an agenda item is discussed. If you have a comment or question, please raise your hand to be recognized by the mayor. After being recognized by the mayor, please stand to give your name and address for the record. Proceed with your comment or questions. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Right now we have no hands raised with the attendees. So we'll move on to item 6, consideration of approval of agenda. A, approve the February 1, 2020 City Council meeting minutes as printed. Roll call, please.
You need a motion?
We need a motion support, yes.
Motion to approve the city council minutes as printed.
or
Also,
Further discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Sias,
Yay.
Councilmember Carlson,
Aye.
Councilmember Blease,
yes,
Councilmember Montgomery,
yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Mayor Hopp,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Moving down to item 7, new business. A, resolution appreciation of Sergeant Jason Kick. And that was in your packet to review.
Your Honor, I would make
Yes.
a motion to approve the resolution of appreciation to Mr. Kick.
Okay.
Support.
Motion and support. Any further discussion regarding this? I would just like to add, he also had included a couple things that he assisted with Ferrisburg that were not included on this, was the Cops with Cones, which we just started under my leadership. And he was always present at any event that we would have at the city. So he's definitely going to be somebody that's going to be missed by many, many of us. So at this point, roll call, please.
Councilmember Carlson,
Councilmember Carlson,
Working on it. Aye.
Councilmember Blease,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
please stop.
Mm.
Councilmember Carlson, we are in a board meeting and side conversations are not permitted during this time. Thank you, Debbie. If you could continue, please.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Mayor Hop,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. Moving down to item 7B. Discussion, take action if appropriate to approve the recommendation from Harbor Transit Multimodal Transportation System, HTMMTS, Board and approve the 2021-2022 millage rate at 0.6000 mils.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Support.
Motion and support. Further discussion regarding this.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
This is the same millage that's been approved for last year. I believe the year before also. We went from 0.5 to 0.6 in 2019. It's particularly challenging this year with ridership being way down, obviously with the COVID thing. We definitely need the renewal at 0.6. That's all I would like to say.
Thank you for sharing that as a representative to the Harbor Transit Board. Any other further discussion regarding this? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember Blease,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes.
Mayor Hop,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. Moving down to 7C, discussion and take action if appropriate to approve the proposal from Fleece and Vandenbrink Incorporated for $4,400 for 2 bridge inspections for 2021 in the MDOT Local Bridge Program Grant Application Funding for the year 2024. And I see that we have Mr. Moxie is now on the screen with us. If you would like to take this time, Mr. Moxie, and explain your proposal to council.
Yes, this is an update of the application that we submitted last year to the local bridge program. Last year, we submitted under the preventative maintenance category for funding with the expectation that the Bridge Council would see the drastic reduction in the amount that we asked for and fund us, but that did not happen like we hoped it would. This year, what we're suggesting is that we apply under the rehabilitation category. The reason being that that category is far more weighted towards the inspection data. So the condition of our bridge really helps us, whereas the preventative maintenance is more of a subjective ranking by that group. This takes it more out of their hands, and I think it'll probably work better for us. The other thing that plays into that is funding is very limited. The number of applications is usually 5 to 7 times what the program funding levels are. The rehabilitation and reconstruction category has more money in it than what the preventative maintenance category does. The preventative maintenance category, we would be using likely all of that allocation. They could only select one bridge, and that one being ours. So this potentially gives us a little bit better chance for a higher pool of money that we would be going into as well. Couple of the other things we would like to do, reach out to each of the Bridge Council members before we put in the application, try and get some feedback. That's not something that they do as a matter of course, but we have some relationships on that board.
Mhm.
So we, between myself and city manager, maybe the city mayor, could make those contacts and just ask, what prevented you from picking our bridge? What are some things you would like to see us do to the application that we might incorporate to make this one a little bit better? This is always kind of an iterative process, again, because the funding needs are so much more than the funding allocations. So it's pretty routine to take a few times to get funded, but we're hopeful that if we make some changes, we can make this happen. And again, this would be for 2024 construction. So this would start the clock on the design time frame. We would know, again, like last year, we would know at that October, November meeting whether we get funded.
Right. And in working with MDOT as much as I have since I became elected mayor, I know that Mr. Bessinger and I have had multiple conversations, and I've also presented multiple times at MDOT. And so it's very critical to have the voices from the community be heard. So at this time, we need to have a motion and support for council to move into a discussion.
I'll
Your Honor,
support.
Yes, Mr. DeWitt?
nothing.
So Mr. Moxie has done the presentation. This is an item agenda, so we need to have a motion support to move forward.
I'll put a motion of support to move forward.
Okay?
Support.
There's a motion support. Further discussion regarding this?
Your Honor, I have a few
Yeah.
questions.
Sure.
As I understand it, the House of Representatives, our state rep and our state senator have included a total replacement in this, I forget what they call it, bridge bundling.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
something that's on the governor's proposed budget for this year, which would need to be approved by September. This is a nonpartisan. MDOT and I worked very, very closely with them with this. MDOT has selected bridges throughout the state, large cities, small cities, rural communities, and they're viewing this as a nonpartisan approach. Out of the 120 bridges, Ferrisburg Smiths Bridge is number 64 on the list.
So that would be included as a total replacement project?
Yes, it is. And it's for the fiscal year of 21, 22. So construction would begin on that bridge. If the bridge bundle is left in the budget, it would begin in 22 and conclude sometime in 2023.
So I guess my question to the mayor and the council is that's already written into a bill that we would know in 2021, which would be what, this next fiscal year, which starts in what, May? The state fiscal?
The governor's budget needs to be signed into order by September of 2021.
Okay, so I would think realistically, what we're doing is duplicating we're spending money to write a proposal for a grant that the bridge is already included in if the budget passes. So we're applying for a grant that is in 2024. Is that what I'm reading here?
Yes, there'd be that
So-
fiscal year.
The question I have for Mr. Moxley is, if we don't put a grant request in this year, how does that affect our standing putting a request in next year? If this passes, our issue is done. If it doesn't pass, we're putting a request in next year for the 2024-25 fiscal year, correct? Is that where I'm?
This would be a backup plan. Obviously, plan A would be for the governor's budget to pass, be part of that bridge bundling and get a brand new bridge. This would be the backup plan that if that falls through, like it did last year, I believe, that you would at least have this scheduled for 2024. They look at each year's applications independently. So you could then, if you didn't want to put an application in and just relied on the governor's plan, we could put in an application again next year, but that would mean you were out to 2025 for your project, if you got funded.
Which is from what you're telling us, the bridge is safe for the next 10 years. So that would not be an issue as far as the safety factor, correct?
No, as long as inspections are done and there may be some additional load restrictions over that period of time, but that's what the inspection process is for, is to keep it open and keep it safe.
So from where I'm sitting, we're going to give you a bunch of money to write a grant that perhaps we won't even need. That would not affect us in the next grant cycle. I mean, you don't drop down the list as, you know, every year is assessed separately, correct?
Yeah, correct. I guess I should point out, I should clarify, our proposal includes the grant application, which is $800 of that total is updating the application. The rest of that is normal inspection work that does need to get done in 2021, related to the application, but independent of it.
Right. Well, I guess at this point, I would be of the opinion that we should wait and see what the governor says. You know, this last year, that was a strictly a Republican bill. This year, it's a bipartisan bill across the state. And I think it would behoove us to see what happens with the governor's bill to fund, you know, you're telling us the bridge is safe till 2025. So I don't see any downside in not requesting the grant this year, because I do believe that talking to the state reps and the MDOT, that they believe this bridge bundle will pass. So that's just where I'm coming from.
To add
Yeah, I
some
would-
more background regarding the bridge bundling package versus the line item that was put on last year's budget, or in 2019. 2019 line item was a standalone for Smith's Bridge, and it was a line item vetoed. This would be a large package, which involves 120 bridges. So they're going to be viewed two different ways by both the House and the Senate. So Councilmember Montgomery, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to add, Mayor Hop, that, you know, just because nothing is absolutely certain with the state budget, I think it's important that, you know, for $800, we ensure that we're covered as a backup plan, and have an appropriate grant written and ready to submit.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Mr.
Your Honor.
Moxie, just a moment, please. Mr. Moxie,
Yep.
real quick, can you give clarification on the email conversation that you had with Mr. Buzinger regarding your reference to council? Is that the Bridge Council, or were you referencing the City of Ferrisburg council members?
I believe well, what was the email exchange? Can you give me some details? I
Sure.
assume Bridge Council.
It was, it occurred on February 9, and you made the mention about, I went into the 2020 application thinking that council would reward us for reducing our ask as much, but they barely even mention our project in their discussion. I think it would be wise to take the discussion out of their hands as much as we can. So are you
Yeah.
referencing the Bridge Council, or were you referencing the City of Ferrisburg?
Yeah, sorry, two different councils. The Bridge Council, the group that makes
Okay.
that selection decision.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, because I know that was a concern. It was something against the city, but I
Right, no,
appreciate
no,
this.
That would certainly read much differently if it was the City Council. Yes, thanks for
Okay.
clarifying that.
Thank you. And then Councilmember Sias, did you have a question? Yes.
Yeah, I was just curious what the deadline is for the 2024 grant application. When do we have to have
April.
that application in by?
April 5 is the deadline for this year.
And then they're awarded near the end of October to the first part of November.
Okay.
Any other further discussions? Yes,
Connor?
yes.
I'm gonna, I got a few questions here. I'm curious as to why we need to have Fleece and Vanderbrink pay them to redo a grant that's already been done. Why can't we just update the grant that we submitted and, give it the current dates? I know there's a spreadsheet that needs to be filled out that was revised on the 29th of January of this year by MDOT. But I think that's something that maybe staff could just make the updates. Is that something to do, or does that have to come from an engineering firm?
Does not have to come from an engineering firm, and when we'd happily work with staff if they can take on part or all of it.
Okay. The other thing is, I'm going to be honest with you. I am not impressed with Fleece and Vanderbrink's inspection reports. They've left a lot of questions and a lot of things that do not make sense. How a bridge can be fine for 6 months and all of a sudden seriously deteriorate in another 6 months. So I would I would rather like to look at maybe getting one of our other engineering firms involved in this and see what kind of prices we can get from them for an inspection.
I guess I'm surprised at that. We get very high marks from MDOT, and I don't think we've ever had a large swing in anything that we've done, where something was shown fine and then all of a sudden not.
Tim, are you able to elaborate on some of the
Please,
questions?
Councilmember Montgomery, this is a discussion that Councilmember O'Donnell was speaking with Mr. Moxie.
Well, in your April, I believe it's April 2019 report, you rated a portion of the bridge in fair condition, and then in April, your report was almost identical, even down to the typos. And then in October, it went from a fair to a poor condition. And your summary did not match what your actual report said on a couple of the areas. I apologize. I do not have those before me at this point in time. I just am going on my memory of those reports and what stuck out with that.
Yeah, without the details, I guess all I can say is that fair and poor are one rating point different. So things go from fair to poor all the time. If there are typos, certainly those happen. We try to catch them as best we can, but all I can say is we get very high marks from MDOT on our reports.
Okay.
Councilmember Montgomery, you had a question?
I was just asking Councilmember O'Donnell to elaborate on some of his concerns. I don't remember them being brought up when we originally reviewed the packet with Fleece and Vandenbrink after their last inspection. So I was just curious as to what you noticed.
Did he answer your question for you? Or Councilmember O'Donnell, do you have additional information?
The thing that stood out to me was in the report, the report in the the October and April report were almost identical. And then the following October of 2020, with the new report, there were areas in there that did not match the summary. So if you read the summary, it looked like everything was fine. But if you actually went into the report, there was some serious deterioration in some of the structure. We went from having only a couple strands that were broken to almost 25% of the strands were affected. So, which to me is a very significant point that should have been brought up in the summary, but it was not.
Any other additional comments or questions? Either
Yeah.
for, yes,
Your Honor, I read through that report word for word, and as Tim said, I don't have it in front of me, but there were a lot of inconsistencies, and I was concerned, as Tim was, as far as some of the broken strands, they say, on the support beams. In their initial report, and I don't remember when it was, 2016, 2017, it was not a concern. On that last report, now all of a sudden it's a concern. I guess I would ask Mr. Moxley if it's deteriorating at a faster rate than what we had originally thought. Why is that not included in the summary, as Tim said, that the concern was that the deterioration is happening at a quicker rate than what was indicated in the summary? I guess that's where I'm coming from. I read it word for word, and it did not make sense to me, as Tim said. The specific ratings per every part of the bridge, and then the summary was kind of ambiguous as to the actual additional deterioration in 6 months. And my concern is that was a summer 6 months. It didn't have the freeze thaw cycle that we have during the winter. I could understand it if we had a deterioration from September to April, but from April to September, that makes no sense to me. Maybe Mr. Moxley could elaborate as to why the deterioration would happen in the summer without the freeze thaw cycle involved in that. Two different reports there.
I believe, I'm going from memory here because this is the first that's come up, but I believe last year between the April and October inspections, we had a quality control review by MDOT. The April inspection report, I believe we had more general comments in the inspection report, and we had more detailed comments in some of our drawings and things like that. And MDOT asked that we put the more detailed comments in the inspection report, so that October report probably reads like the bridge is in worse condition than what it is, but it's really just because all of the comments got put into the inspection report, as opposed to I prefer to see them in the drawings where you can see spatially where they are, instead of trying to read and interpret where they are. But that was just a change done at the request of MDOT. They had us raise a few of the rating points, I believe, because the ratings that we had given them were a little bit lower. We were trying to be consistent with past inspections, but their team went out and said, this isn't a 3, this is a 4. So we may have even raised a few of them.
Thank you. Councilmember Carlson, thank you for your patience.
Yep, no problem. When is the deadline for us to approve this proposal for $4,400?
The grant application is due on April 5, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Couple things, and that would be number one, can Mr. Moxley come back and supply some information in terms of, after he reviews the reports, do some better explanation as to the inconsistencies that some of the council members are seeing. And then secondly, can you do, maybe we should move that we approve this later after we get some more information from the engineering firm in terms of the pros and cons of us spending the $4,400, since this is in the governor's proposed budget.
We could do that. There's, we'd be looking at the inspection timeline for the spring that we need, and then also the grant. So there's a motion and support on the table. So we would need to vote on that before we would move to something else. But Mr. Bessinger, you had a question?
Just a comment. Now, this proposal from Fleiss and Vandenbrink is for 4 different items in there for the year for 2021. The proposal is $800 to resubmit the grant application by April 5th. And then there's 2 line items for $1,400 each to do 2 bridge inspections this year, which are going to be required by MDOT. And then as part of the bridge inspections, they're going to do some concrete removal for $800. So the deadline for the grant application, like the mayor mentioned, is April 5th. And that's going to cost the city $800 to put that grant application in. The other 2 items are going to be required by MDOT, no matter if the bridge is in the budget or not in the budget.
Right. Councilmember Carlson?
Thank you. So conceivably, we could turn down the motion as proposed for the 4,400 and come back and someone could make a motion for an $800 resubmittal of the grant and the inspections and or just the inspections.
Yes. Any additional questions or comments at this time?
When are we,
Yes.
when are we required to have the inspections completed?
Mr. Moxie, do you have date timelines on those?
Yeah, the inspections are due in the month of April and then the month of October.
Okay.
So, Mr. Moxie, if we were to wait until our first meeting in March, would that give you guys enough time to complete everything you need to complete?
Yeah, that would certainly work. I would ask if council members do have concerns about our inspection reports, any inconsistencies they think they see, that if we could get detail on that, then we could respond line item by line item.
I think that would be best handled if council members have questions, concerns, to direct them towards Mr. Bessinger. And then Mr. Bessinger would then be able to compile it and work directly with Mr. Moxie and Fleiss and Vandenbrink. So I'd like to see it done that direction. Is council in agreement with that suggestion?
Agreed.
Agreed.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, so at this point, there's a motion and support for $4,400 for Fleiss and Vandenbrink to complete the grant, to complete spring and fall inspections of the bridge, and for concrete removal. So we need a roll call, please.
Councilmember Montgomery,
I'm comfortable still saying yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
No.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Oh,
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes.
Councilmember Blees,
No.
Mayor Hop.
No,
Motion failed, 4-3.
okay. So hearing that, throughout our discussion tonight, council has discussed a couple different options. Does someone want to make a motion on one of those options, and then council can approve or not approve and move forward?
yeah,
Yes, go ahead, Councilmember DeWitt.
Carlson,
Oh, okay, Councilmember Carlson?
Your Honor,
Yes,
I make a motion that we approve Fleiss and Vandenbrink to move forward with an $800 grant application for Smith Bridge.
okay. Is there support?
Yeah, I'll support that.
There's support. Further discussion regarding this motion? Okay, hearing none, roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt,
yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes.
Councilmember Blees,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Mayor Hop.
Yes,
Motion passed for $800 for the grant application.
okay, thank you. At this time, Mr. Bessinger, would you be able to make arrangements with Mr. Moxie to add him to our agenda if that works into his schedule for our next council meeting in March.
Yes, I can do that. When Mr. Moxie's ready for, to respond to the questions from city council, I'll work with Mr. Moxie to get him on the, back on the agenda.
Okay,
Meanwhile, if I could get the comments from council that are, Mr. Moxie needs to answer, give him a little time to work on his
Mhm.
response. So it might be the March 15th meeting, depends on when we get the questions back in here.
okay. My directive to council would be, as you're submitting questions, concerns, or comments into Mr. Bessinger, making sure that they're very specific and detailed orientated. So then the research will be easier anyways for Mr. Moxie to be able to draw the correct information from his research. Okay? All right. Mr. Moxie, thank you very much for spending the time with us this evening. I appreciate your assistance.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, moving down to item 7D. Discussion, take action if appropriate to approve accepting permits for barges to load, unload materials at the city-owned street end on 4th Street and set an annual fee of $150.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to approve it.
Okay,
Support.
motion support. Further discussion around this?
Yeah, I have a question for Craig. This seems like this is a bigger pain in the rear than the fees we get from it, because I always get complaints from people. They're down there fishing, the barge pulls in, they have no, I don't want to say respect, but they have no, basically respect for people fishing. They just pull in, and I guess you gotta get your fishing pole out of the water when they pull in. Is this fee? I just think that this fee is a little bit low, and I think the amount of complaints I have received from this situation, I don't know, I'm sick of hearing it. So I just, you know, I appreciate the fact that we provide a place for them to load barges, but I get a lot of negative comments about it. I just question whether we should raise the fee or put a little more rules in place for the people using it.
Okay,
So we do get a lot of comments on it. This isn't a moneymaker for the city. It's not a revenue stream. This is more or less a courtesy for the barge operators to be able to use the street end. We do get complaints from the residents to the north of there with the dust and the noise. I did get a couple of comments from fishermen that, you know, barge pulled in and they have nowhere to fish now. That's why we changed the permit a little bit to make sure that barge companies do notify the city when they're going to be there, so we can respond to residents and concerns that are brought to us when barges are down there, so we know who's down there. I'll have to try it for one more year, and if it doesn't work out, we'll bring it to city council next year and say we either recommend to keep it or remove it.
okay.
I guess the question I have for you, Craig, is that they have to notify the city when they're going to use the street end, correct?
That's correct.
Is there any way we could have like a little sign down there and post it like 24 hours in advance tomorrow? You know, the next 24 hours there will be barges loading or something like that. That might eliminate some of the complaints I'm getting about the people fishing there.
Typically, we get a call first thing in the morning and let us know that they're going to be there at sometime at noon or in the afternoon for between 2 and 4.
I would say 24 hours in advance myself. Then we can post a sign so anybody pulling in there to fish would say, okay, we know a barge is coming in today. We don't have to be specific, like 1 o'clock, but the barge will be there loading during the day on, you know, tomorrow from whatever. You know, I get a lot of complaints on this, and quite honestly, I'm getting fed up with it. You know, I mean, it's not the barge's fault necessarily, but it still is an aggravation to me. So, I'm just kind of making a suggestion here that if they're gonna load on Tuesday, that by end of business Monday, they have to notify the city. We can just post a little paper sign there or something that they're to notify people fishing there. Because a lot of times they got cars in there, they're parked on the street end. The barge pulls in, they're getting real nasty with people to move their cars. I can understand they're in their way, but by the same token, it is our property. And they should be playing by our rules. I've had several people complain that they were gonna call the police and have their cars impounded from a city street. That is not, this is not a one-way street. We're allowing them to use our property. And all we are doing is getting a bunch of complaints and aggravation from it. You know, I mean, I appreciate the fact that we're trying to help out the barge companies, but on the same token, I'm tired of hearing this all the time. Just throwing that out there.
Okay. Thank you. Councilmember Sias,
Your
you
Honor.
had a question. Can I do a follow-up with Mr. Buzzinger first? Okay.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
Thank you. Mr. Buzzinger, is this something that we could add to the permitting? So if they're going to pay the city $150, then they need to follow these standards or our guidelines?
Well, in your packet is a copy of the application and the regulations, and in there it does say that, you know, they're supposed to give the city 24-hour notice. We've never really enforced it. We can, you know, put the contractors on notice that we're gonna start enforcing that, and if they don't give 24 hours notice, they're not gonna be able to use the street end.
I think that that would be in fairness. Because when there's temporary things going on in the city, there's temporary no parking that's scheduled ahead of time, so people are aware of what areas to avoid, just out of fairness and a courtesy to our residents. Councilmember Sias, you had a question.
Yeah, question for Craig. How many companies utilize that loading?
5 or 6.
5 or 6, okay. The reason I ask is because last summer I do a lot of boating and I noticed that there were barges parked there for overnight and it seemed like they were there for longer than a day. And I didn't see any workers or crew manning the barges. So that's kind of my concern. Have you had any complaints of them staying overnight or staying longer than they're supposed to just for loading and unloading?
So typically, most contractors come in and that when they call us, they say they're gonna be there, you know, give us a time frame. And in the regulations, it says they cannot stay there for more than 24 hours. You know, we can't stop them from mooring or docking there as long as they're in the water. But when they're using the street end and the land, then the city can get involved a little bit.
Right. Okay.
Any additional comments or question? Yes, Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, Craig, quick question. Is this, are the barges primarily working for city Ferrisburg residents, or are they serving all of Spring Lake and Lake Michigan?
All of Spring Lake and further probably.
And are there other locations that they could use potentially on the lake or on Lake Michigan?
For Planks does have a place where the people can put a barge. Of course, there would be a fee with that for Planks.
So are we the low cost alternative?
I'm not sure what the others charge. I would think we're pretty low.
That's all.
Thank you. Any more comments or questions before we move to a vote?
Yes, Your Honor. I guess yeah, I'm reluctant to approve this because our residents are the ones complaining to me. There are other options available. I think we'll let it go this year, and Greg needs to put put a lid on this as far as, they need to notify us ahead of time. Perhaps we should require them, if we put a signpost there with where they could staple a notice on that they're gonna be there the next day, something of that nature, so our residents know, if they pull in to go fishing, that there will be loading and unloading at that site. I don't think that's being unreasonable. And I think we really need to take another look at this next year, because it's becoming more and more of an issue. And as Councilman Saya said, they are docking there. As Craig alluded to, we cannot prevent them from docking there. But by the same token, if they're not loading there, they wouldn't be docking there.
Okay.
So, we could eliminate a lot of problems just by denying this, but I would like to see it give one more year and see if we can't straighten out the problems we're having with it in a manner that, is beneficial for both parties.
Okay, thank you. I'm monitoring a question from an attendee. Anyways, and the question reads, it's from a Bill Kate. And he writes, what is the annual income stream for the barge fees? Mr. Bessinger, would you be able to answer that?
So in the past, we've charged $100 a year, and we typically have 5 or 6, maybe 7 companies at the most pay that fee.
Okay. I'm assuming that he has heard because he's still online. So if not, we can answer that at the end of the meeting. So at this point, I ask for a roll call, please.
Your Honor,
Yes.
are you modifying this to change the requirement that they give 24-hour notice?
That's already, Mr. Bessinger shared that it's already in the permit. They just haven't enforced it.
Okay, perfect.
Mhm.
Your Honor,
Yes,
I would like to modify this to say that.
we have a motion and support on the table, and then we can go back through. Or are you talking about the permitting itself?
The permitting itself.
Okay, what
um,
modification?
That they post 24 hours in advance. They have to notify the city. I would like to see some kind of modification where they have to actually post it doesn't have even nothing elaborate, but they post something there, like a paper copy that tomorrow they will be loading. That would eliminate a lot of the problems we're having. Because people would pull in to go fishing, they would see it's, the next day or, Wednesday, they're going to be loading and unloading the barges instead of them coming in and then the barge people getting nasty with them as far as moving their cars and everything else. The notice is posted so we could eliminate a lot of these headaches.
Mr. Bessinger, is that something that could be added into that permitting?
We'll work on putting some kind of notice at the end of the street, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Craig.
Any other further discussion, comments?
Your Honor,
Yes,
could we hear the motion again before we take a vote?
sure. Clerk Waringa, can you please share the motion?
We are going to approve accepting permits for barges to load and unload materials from the city-owned street end on 4th Street and set the annual fee at $150.
And for our posted notice.
That will be
Yeah.
in the regulations.
Okay.
Yes,
Mhm.
And that will be the city posting it, correct?
Or the barge people.
I just think it's probably not feasible to ask the barge people to drive here the night before just so they can bring a barge here the next morning. You know what I mean?
Well, they're all local contractors, so I don't think it's a big issue if they got to drive 2 miles.
Okay.
But I believe it should be the city. The city would be notifying our residents or the public that this is a temporary arrangement.
Okay,
The same thing that the city would do with temporary parking on the street when there's activity going on within the city. That's my thought.
I agree, Mayor Hop.
Yeah, I can buy that, but I would just like to see it 24 hours in advance that it is posted.
I believe that the city would be able to do that. Correct, Mr. Bessinger?
That's correct.
Okay. Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember DeWitt,
Yes,
Councilmember Sias,
Did you-
Councilmember Sias,
No,
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes,
Councilmember Blees,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Mayor Hop,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Moving down to item 7E, work session with social media. Before we get into the social media aspect of that policy, I just want to do a couple reviews of other policies that council members need to be held accountable to and be aware and brought to your attention again. Since I did miss the last council meeting, I had the opportunity to review the council meeting online and other council meetings that we have had. I just want to draw your attention to the Open Meetings Act. Whether we're meeting in person in the chamber or we are meeting on Zoom, the same standards apply, which means the use of electronic communications are not permitted during a council meeting because the public is unaware of what communication is being sent back and forth, and that is a violation. A violation of the Open Meeting Act, according to the current state of Michigan Attorney General, is could be the act is guilty of a misdemeanor, punishable to a fine not more than $1,000. So everyone needs to be aware the Open Meetings Act still applies while we're meeting on Zoom. And additionally, Robert's Rules of Order is how this council is set up, and it's through our charter that all questions and inquiries go through the chair, whether that be the mayor or the mayor pro tem, before asking questions directly to staff members or to one another or to someone who is presenting on council, to council. Example tonight would be Mr. Moxie. Okay, so now moving into the social media, Councilmember Montgomery had requested this be reviewed to let the public know how this transpired. Was on conversations via emails in January. I was contacted by a person who was very frustrated that a council member was utilizing a Facebook, the logo on the Facebook page, and then also stating being a governmental official. And according to according to social media policy that the city enacted in 2016, utilizing the logo without a written permission from council and or designee, which would be Mr. Bessinger, falls against the policy. And additionally, utilizing governmental official. And that question was addressed by our city attorney, and the city attorney wrote back stating that that would be in violation of the policy. This could be considered creating the appearance of representing the city and could be construed as such. As council members, we are one unit. There's not one person that would speak on behalf unless there's a city emergency, then that would be the city manager. He speaks multiple times with the news, or the mayor could speak at some point if there's a crisis within the city. These Facebook pages that are out there, they are yours, but you still need to uphold the city standards. This is different than Rep. Lily's or Senator Victory's because they represent the full district, so that one person can speak on behalf of the voters that voted them into that place. We are a whole unit. So with that being said, I'll open up the work session for further discussion.
So Your Honor, I'd like to just add that I think that the city attorney also added he's not sure that that was the intent of the original policy. The reason I brought this up was because the image in question that contained the city logo is actually a photo of everybody that was on our public website, that the city logo happened to be in the background. So my thought process and my request for this is asking, A, we're elected officials, so I ask that we're able to identify ourselves as such. And then B, as far as the city logo, I personally looked at it as no different than Mayor Hop, yourself going out in public and wearing a jacket with the city logo on it and speaking with residents, or myself going out and wearing a polo with the city logo on it and speaking with residents, which I think we would agree everybody does at certain points and has individual conversations with residents. This is just another opportunity for us to engage our residents and keep our government transparent and our residents informed.
Okay, with that being said, your Facebook page was posted in December, approximately within a month or so of you being elected. And you didn't ask for permission from council nor the designee. And I did confirm with Mr. Bessinger that all council members have received this social media policy.
You are correct, Your Honor.
Pardon me?
You are correct, Your Honor. I identified myself as an elected official after I was voted in. I will add that I was not aware that that was in violation until you brought it to my attention. But
that is
forever-
not doing your due diligence as an elected official in being aware of what your policy and procedures that you as an elected official must uphold.
Okay.
So asking for permission now, after it's been out there for over a year, council probably would have approved this, or at least considered a discussion, had you brought this up after you were elected and you were presenting it as such.
Sure, and I've made the proper adjustments, so now I'm asking that as a council, we change that policy so that we're not having this issue in the future, and all our current and future council members are able to communicate through social media just like they do in person with residents.
The only people on this council that do not have a Facebook page that communicates on social media is myself and Councilmember DeWitt. Everyone else on council has a social presence, and some people are very vocal and others choose just to be observers. So that wouldn't sway council or sway me one way or the other, whether you're an elected official or not. Some people have two Facebook pages, one that they use for personal and one that they use more discussing something like going on in the city, posting things from the city website for residents to review on their Facebook page. Is there additional? Councilmember DeWitt?
Yeah, just so the present council knows, we spent over a year on this policy. We've had issues in the past. That's why we wrote it. I think we spent over a year on it. We ran it by MML. We ran it by the prosecuting attorney. We ran it by our city council or our city attorney. And this is what we came up with. I do not support any modification of this policy as written. We spent endless hours on this thing. And there was a couple of issues that we resolved by writing this policy. We have not had an issue since. I'm willing to accept that William's use of the city logo was an honest mistake, but by the same token, he should have read the policy and been aware of it. To bring this up after the fact is kind of yeah, I can't find the right word, but I think this policy was well drafted. There was a reason why we drafted it, and I don't see any reason to modify it in any way, shape, or form.
Okay. Any other additional comments? Councilmember O'Donnell?
Yes, I, just to add to Councilmember DeWitt's comments. Facebook was a contentious point in our discussions during that time due to the fact that it is not a controllable site. People can take the images, take the comment, make whatever comments they want. And so that's why we decided to restrict the use of any business being done on the on Facebook or the social media sites. And I think that kind of will play into the next discussion we're going to have on the on my packet or pocket or whatever it is. So just let you know, we have discussed it. It has, and it was very intensely discussed. In this day and age, we have to be very careful about how we present ourselves. The news media is looking for anything that they can use against government officials. There are people out there, just regular citizens that are looking for anything they can use to use against the city. So I have no problem the way that the current policy is written. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members wish to add comments or questions?
Your Honor, I have
Yes.
a question.
Mhm.
So basically, what this is saying is we cannot have a Facebook page announcing ourselves as a public official. Is that correct? Even if we don't use the logo? Is that
No,
my?
you may state that you're city council, but utilizing the words as a governmental official, that's where our city attorney wrote a response back to Mr. Bessinger. So there are
Right.
council members that have what their business is, what their jobs are outside, and then they'll add in that they're a council member along with it that falls within the parameters of the social media policy.
Okay, but we can't create a page specifically under a city council member's name or representation, which we are, to communicate with the public. Is that correct? We can have our personal Facebook page and announce that we are city council members, but we cannot have a Facebook page that says that is specifically for government or city council business, correct?
Which would be stating a Facebook page stating the City of Ferrisburg council member, correct? But on you could have you could create two different
guess that's-
pages. You could have one just for your personal family use and friends and family. Then you could create a second page if you wished. And then that would be where, and I know council members have done this, they have shared information from the City of Ferrisburg website. And they've shared that out there to the residents. So it would get a broader viewing versus just people going to the City of Ferrisburg.
Okay, but yeah, I guess that doesn't make much sense to me that we can share information as a council member on the Ferrisburg website, but we can't.
No,
do it-
not on the city's website,
Or I'm sorry, on the Ferrisburg Informed page or whatever, correct? Or-
because that's an independent group
yeah,
of people that
whatever
have that.
Facebook pages are.
Mhm.
Can I add some clarification, Your Honor? Councilman Sias, the issue became the page type. Facebook allows you to classify your page type as a government official, in which they verify the election status prior to that approving it. Based on what the city attorney stated, he just asked that page type be changed to anything else like political or politician, I think is what I
Mhm.
changed mine to.
Okay.
And you did
Okay,
that in
fair
a
enough.
very prompt manner also, Councilmember Montgomery. Yes, Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, so somebody, rather than being classifying themselves as a governmental official, you could classify yourself as a politician. In other words, if I decided to run again for city councilman or mayor, then I could create a politician page without any Ferrisburg logos and be able to post a Ferrisburg Inform, a Grand Haven Inform to be well within our statute.
If that's something that you would choose to do, when in doubt, I would check with Mr. Bessinger and
Okay.
make sure that you're within the parameters. If you're creating something like this in the future, just make sure that you're within the parameters.
Correct. Okay,
Our
thank you.
attorney is very accessible with Mr. Bessinger, and he
Yep.
was the one that was our attorney when we wrote the social media policy back in
Very-
16.
Very good. Thank you for the clarification.
Mhm. Any more discussion regarding this? Because this is the same social media policy that all Ferrisburg employees must uphold to. So this is DPW, this is staff, all of them. And violation of this could lead up to termination. So this policy was put into place to make sure that people understand that there are consequences if a policy is violated. Okay, if there's nothing more, then I'm seeing no more comments. Then we can move down to 7F. And that is my city pocket. This information is information that I received via this company. And I think it would be very informative for our residents to have this availability to them. Grand Haven also utilizes a source similar to this, but the cost is much greater. I think Clerk Waringa included this into our packet also. So I'm hoping everybody had an opportunity to review it. And then if you have, is this something that we would like to consider and move it into an agenda item to make it available to our residents, which is another means of a social outlet for emergencies, for anything that they would need to have done or that the city would need from the residents. Yes, Councilmember O'Donnell.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would fully support this being used. When we were talking about the social media website, we were trying to come up with a way to keep our residents informed. And this is a excellent program. The one question I have, I'd like to check in with this, is if it is interactive. The U.S. Coast Guard currently uses a similar program. It's called Everbridge. With the Everbridge, there is no fee to the well, in our case, it would be residents to sign up for this. And it is interactive. Last year, after a severe thunderstorm went through here, I received a text from the Coast Guard asking if everything was okay and if I needed any assistance, and all I had to do was press yes or no on the response. And I think we have a lot of elderly patients or elderly residents that this would be a great benefit to. Unfortunately, I can see this being a problem out on the other side of the dunes where there's spotty cellular reception, but that is something we can look into maybe modifying some way. So I would like to find out if the one question is this interactive? Is this a way that we can keep communication with our residents? This would be also a good way to, if a barge is coming in, we can send out a notice that a barge is going to be coming in. Other notifications, events, and so I'm still looking at getting some information from Everbridge. So I would definitely support this.
Okay. Councilmember Montgomery.
Sorry about that. So Tim, I use Everbridge at work too. And looking through this and looking at online, my concern is that one difference that you mentioned between this and Everbridge, and that is that this requires every resident to have the My City Pocket app on their phone. Where Everbridge we can push to residents' phone text messages. I'm concerned for this price. You know, it requires residents to download the app, and at that point, it's no different than any of the other apps we've communicated through. So I would be in support of something similar to Everbridge that we can push, like Tim said, to the residents. I would rather not go down the road of paying a fee that still requires our residents to have an app to access the information.
Okay. Councilmember Carlson.
Yeah, Your Honor, what is the rate of participation for citizens downloading in Grand Haven?
I don't have that specifics from Mr. McGinnis.
I mean, that we,
Mr. Bessinger, do you have that? Do you have that information?
You're on mute, Craig.
No, I don't have that specific information. I know that this My City Pocket is one way. The city can only push out. Residents cannot contact the city.
Okay.
and Your Honor,
Yes.
the other question I would have is, does this have the ability for GPS when I'm driving down the road that I can report a pothole and push pothole and it records where I'm at?
Those would be great questions because now we're digging deeper into this to see if it is interactive or if there's something more that could be available, like what both Councilmember O'Donnell and Councilmember Montgomery spoke about. I'm sorry, Mr. Bessinger?
It's not interactive. Residents, the city only pushes out. It's only one-way communication.
Okay. So I guess, at least, I mean, I put this out there for a work session. I was hoping to generate some great conversations like this, some different ideas. I think it brought another option to the table also for discussion. I would like to see this added as an agenda item so we can dig deeper into it, get some more information, and possibly make a decision that would better off and help our residents because technology is so advanced. And I think Ferrisburg just needs to really continue to stay or work to be in the forefront of some of the technology opportunities that are available. So Councilmember DeWitt.
Yeah, I think rather than put it on an agenda item, I think we should continue it as a work session and get other options available. You know, I'm technology challenged, so I don't know none of this stuff. But I think from the arguments that were brought up, there are other options and perhaps we should investigate other options as a work session item and then put it on the agenda. We put it on the agenda and then we're voting on one specific thing as opposed to discussing it and looking at different options. You know what I'm saying? Once it's on the agenda, it's a yes or no vote.
Right.
So this way we
So
should.
yes, to put it on the agenda as a work session and having options
Right.
and new opportunities out there. Yes.
Exactly.
Was it Councilmember Montgomery? Did you raise your hand?
Yes, Your Honor. Yeah. To Councilman DeWitt's point, not everyone is technologically advanced. So I would ask that when we're looking, we consider that, and we look for two things. One, that it enables two-way communication with our residents, and then two, that it has the ability to push a text message and not require them to download an app.
Okay. Since we are in the 21st century, I think this is something that we need to seriously consider. So we will add this with the consent of a nod of your head with council, add this to our next work session?
Sure.
All right, thank you. So moving down to item 7G, work session, motorized millage informational campaign. Knowing this was going to be on the work session, I had sent both Clerk Waringa and also Mr. Bessinger this information from MML because during the 2017 election, residents had received and were told false information. And it is our duty to make certain that all residents receive actual, factual information. Council cannot vote to raise your millage, which is what residents were told in 2017, both in written and in verbal communication. Council can only vote to put a millage on the ballot. Then it is up to the residents to vote whether they approve to spend the extra money for the millage or not. And also with the way that the law is written, we as council members need to be very careful and do our due diligence to stay within those parameters. So I hope everybody had an opportunity to review that one pager from MML. If not, please keep it handy as we move forward into this next election, in the next cycle. So the resolution was put, staff provided us with a copy of the resolution from 1989 with the motorized vehicle millage proposal. So this is on our work session for informational campaign. How do we want to disseminate this information to our residents?
Your Honor. Your Honor.
Yes.
For Councilmember Carlson,
Yes, sir.
you indicated there might be a group out there that would take this on that is not affiliated with the city council to support this.
That is correct.
That is what we would need to do is have see if there would be a group out there that would take this on. Also, the pamphlet in the back, I see no problem with us having that printed up and being able to pass that out at City Hall or as a mailer.
Which is what we did when this was originally written.
Your Honor,
Yes.
and citizens could distribute this to neighborhood businesses and restaurants and whatnot, correct?
Citizens can do as they see what they choose to do. I just want to make certain that residents are receiving accurate information.
Your Honor,
Yes, council members, I
mentioning accurate information, if we see misinformed information out there, can we correct that, or would that be stepping about over the?
no, because
over the line.
you're stating the facts. You're not giving
Okay.
an opinion. You're not telling them how you wish they vote. Vote this way, I'll give you a t-shirt. You're not doing any of that.
Okay.
You're just, my recommendation is staff creates a pamphlet, some type of information, a factual sheet. And then council has multiple copies with you wherever you go.
Your Honor,
Yes.
in terms, not to dig up bones, but what are you speaking of when we're talking about this unfactual information from 2017 or 2018? Refresh my memory.
Regarding the 3 mills for Smith's Bridge,
Okay,
do you want, I can continue.
well, I don't know what the city is speaking of when they're talking about unfactual information.
It was a political against me. And there was a resident, I can name the resident who did the mailers. And it was in favor of Regina Schoberg because she voted no. And they had me highlighted as I voted yes to increase the millage of 3%, which is Regina voted no for council to put it on the ballot. I voted yes to put it on the ballot to allow residents to make that decision. That is not how the information was sent out in postcards to residents.
And that was for the millage proposal or for campaigning?
They used it both.
Yeah,
So,
I think a private, going strictly by memory, that's a long time ago. I think that was a private citizen that.
it was a private citizen. However, that information was also readily distributed in multiple fashions.
I hear you. Okay. Understood.
So, Councilmember DeWitt.
Are you done, Rich?
Yes, and I sincerely appreciate the clarification. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, as I'm looking at the last page of this brochure here with pictures of the dump trucks and police cars and all that there, is this posted on our city website?
No, this is for council's review. See if you have any questions come out. This is just a draft right now. If you have any concerns, comments, suggestions, let us know. We'll make those changes and then we'll get it distributed, on the website, and copies here available at City Hall.
Well, I think it's very well done, and I think it should be on the city website. You need a motion or anything like that to do it, or just a consensus of the council?
We're ready to go. City council's okay with it.
Agreed.
Yes, Councilmember Blees.
Yeah, I have a comment. Is there anywhere in this flyer that we can put this is a renewal and not a new millage? It's a renewal, so people won't pay more. Is that voters approve a renewal? You know, motorized equipment millage for.
Yeah, it's already on there, Scott.
Well, in so many words, can you? Voters approved a renewal of 1 mil for motorized equipment. In 2011, we approved a renewal for 10 years. The revenue raised from motor can only use purchase.
Councilmember Blees, would you want it added to the front cover?
Well, the simpler, the better.
Right?
Because if I read that, I kind of get it, sort of. And this is for 10 years, correct?
Yes, if it's a,
Does it say anywhere in here, this is for 10 more years?
Yeah.
May 4th ballot is for 10 years, 0.5 mils. The proposed millage. Okay. I just think voters approved a renewal. Okay.
so Councilmember Blees, if I'm hearing you, you want residents to understand that this is just a renewal. We're not asking for an increase, and it's not in addition to.
The
You gotta be a
current,
little careful here because
yeah, what,
it's at 0.46 right now. We're going up to 5.
5.
oh, so it's a renewal,
There-
but plus a little more.
Mhm.
Okay. I got ya.
And there's contact information on the back, so if somebody wanted to call City Hall to get
Sure.
clarification,
Okay.
they would be able to do that.
So really, so the millage rate right now is 0.45, correct? 0.46.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
All right, so it is going up a little bit. Okay.
Yes.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Well, as I'm looking at this, where we have the picture of the mini pumper, Ferrisburg motorized equipment millage proposal to renew the millage as passed in, when did we pass it? That would eliminate the a renewal of the millage that was passed the last time we passed it at that 0.5, that would eliminate that problem of 0.46. Because we're asking for a renewal of the millage that was passed in, I forget when it was, Craig, 2010?
2011.
Yeah, that
On
would
the
say,
back. It's on
That
the
would-
back, Mike.
okay.
Flip it over, it's on the back.
Yeah, right there.
What I'm saying is if we put that Perrysburg motorized equipment millage with a picture of the mini pumper here, proposal to renew 0.5 mills as passed in 2011. That would cover our 0.6. That would not be an increase technically because it was passed in 2011 at 0.5. Am I
I
correct?
don't feel comfortable putting past on this brochure. As an election official, I do not feel comfortable doing that.
Okay, that answers my question.
Thank you for that insight. Ms. Waringa. Yes, Councilmember Montgomery.
I have a question for Craig, Your Honor.
Mhm.
Craig, I thought we approved that hot patcher and ATV. Did we not buy those yet?
Yes. We got the hot patch and the ATVs should be delivered sometime next month.
So should we add those to the vehicles purchased and take them off the proposed?
We haven't purchased the ATV yet.
Okay. Well, the hot box we did.
Yep, we can do that. Yep.
I just don't want people thinking like, man, we need another hot box. We just got a brand new one.
Okay. Yeah, Councilmember Carlson.
Yes, Councilman DeWitt was talking about the half mil approved in 2011. And then I see on the back cover or in the inside of the brochure next to the blue pickup truck, blue dump truck, about the 1998 approving 1 mil. And how is that relevant if we're going after a half mil? And I certainly agree with Councilman Belize that we need to highlight any way we can that this is a renewal. It's not an increasing citizens' taxes, that we're just renewing it. And hey, what is it going to cost you? It's going to cost you $50 for $100,000 for the taxable value.
Any more comments or questions? Then I guess my question to staff is, in our next packet, would you be able to supply us with an updated version of this from the notes from your notes from tonight?
Yes, we'll get this redone and get it back out to city council.
Okay, thank you. Because I know that with May 4th is coming rather quickly.
Yep.
To make sure that information is disseminated.
So not just to build on that a little bit, absentee ballots are going to go out very shortly.
Mhm.
And that's when the voting is going to start taking place. So we need to get this information out as soon as possible because people will start voting once they get the absentee ballots.
Right,
Your Honor,
yes,
can you review the revisions that we have requested? And we can vote on the revisions to put it on the city website. That would eliminate 2 weeks here anyway, as far as getting it on the city website and distributing the flyers and such what. Because
I don't
that's
think we
pretty-
need to vote on it. I think it'd just be a consensus of the agenda, of the council.
Well, there's
So
been a
at
lot,
this,
there's been a lot of things thrown around here.
Right.
So I would like Craig or Debbie to expand on what we have requested. And if we approve it tonight by consensus, they can go ahead and get it on. Because like Craig says, the absentee ballots are going out shortly. So I would prefer to see the changes made and approved tonight so they can get it on the city website and such what. Is that possible?
excuse me, Mr. Buzzinger.
So let's do something like we do similar with a newsletter. We'll draft something up, get it out to city council. If they have any concerns, comments, or suggestions, you can get back to us. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and put it out to print.
Okay.
Well, my question is, obviously in my mind, we're in a crunch for time here. Would that be included in our next packet? And then we could, if we had any concerns, we could call Craig or staff to address any issues?
We'll work to get it out in the packet this Friday, yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions regarding this informational packet? Yes, Councilmember Sias.
A question for Craig. Craig, how are we going to distribute these? Are we going to mail out these pamphlets to every resident, or just kind of pass them out the best we can? Other than I understand we'll have them on the city website, but as far as other distribution.
So the thought would be to give them to the council members, and when you're out in the public, you can explain to the residents what the village is going to be for, and hand them one of these brochures.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, good. Just curious.
Everybody's got to get out and talk.
Yeah, I wonder if we should, have a little committee go knock on doors, 3 or 4 of us. That might be a good idea. So
Just get out and talk to people. People love to
Mhm.
hear and love to talk to you, and they like to share what's going on in their lives. We have some amazing
do.
residents in this community.
Don't
So,
forget your mask.
of course, but you have to wear your Ferrisburg mask too. So.
Do we
Okay,
still have any of those in stock at City Hall, the Ferrisburg masks?
I don't, correct, are there some? Mhm.
Yeah, okay. Sorry for speaking out of order.
That's okay. You did fine. Okay, here there are 0 attendees at this time, so no public comments. Move down to 9, report city manager.
In your packet was some information from 2017 regarding the AT&T lawsuit for damages against for the sewer main rupture on Matt Wagner Road. The city attorney contacted me. He's been contacted by an attorney for AT&T, and there was a hint of throwing out a settlement about 25% of damages if the city was open to that. So I'm looking for some feedback to get back to our city attorney on that.
Does everybody have this information to review? Okay, Councilmember Montgomery.
Yeah, Craig, you just said 25%, didn't you? I thought the paper said 50%.
I'm sorry. Yes, it's 50%.
Mhm.
About 25,000.
And do we not, how confident are we that we staked it correctly?
Very.
Do we not take pictures of our mistakes?
No, we do not.
Is there a way to start that process?
Yes. Yeah.
So I know, like at my work, right, we take pictures of every mistake that we do because this becomes an issue quite frequently. And as you know, a picture speaks 1,000 words. I don't even think this would be an issue if we were to implement something like that. But I would be hesitant to settle if we're confident that our mistake ticket was correct and we staked it correct.
We're pretty confident that we've done everything properly. We're confident that we have the backup to prove that we did everything right. There was videos taken afterwards where the measurements were verified that what was on the permit was where the sewer main was. I'm having a hard time. The city attorney's having a hard time why we're having such a fight over this.
Yes, go ahead, please.
What was the window that AT&T hit the sewer, Craig?
I don't follow you.
Like after we staked it, how long after we staked it did they hit the?
I don't know the answer for sure.
Okay. So so a ticket's only good for, I think, 21 days, right? So it's pretty common for a contractor calling tickets ahead of time. I just want to make sure they were in their legal window. You know, if they hit it on day 22, then they did it without a mistake at all, essentially.
I don't know the answer off the top of my head on that. I know all the flags are still out there the day after. Markings are still on the street.
Yeah, if we're confident that we marked our sewer correctly, I don't feel comfortable settling. It's too common that contractors, you know, they want to speed and don't want to hand dig around utilities, and you know that only costs our residents money. So
Okay, Councilmember DeWitt, well, just a minute. Councilmember Montgomery, thank you for sharing because you do have firsthand knowledge of situations like this. So thank you for your professional feedback.
yes, sir.
Councilmember DeWitt.
Yeah, I would just like to amplify William's position here. Obviously, what's happened here is the contractor doesn't have the proper liability insurance to cover this, because, you know, I just don't get this at all, why they're fighting it at all. They did it and they need to pay, period. My question to Craig is, in the future, they have to come to us for a permit. Okay, so in that case, can we request or require an engineer drawing at their expense for the sewer, water lines and such what under the street, and a $500,000 surety bond? That would have eliminated all these issues to begin with. And if we propose that in our settlement talks with AT&T, that might just boost them off their position they're holding here, because obviously that's going to be a major expense to them in the future. But we should at least require any contractor doing subsurface work to provide the city with a performance bond and a copy of their liability insurance. Whether or not that's done or not, I don't know at this point, but in the future, I think that should be a minimum requirement. You have any feedback on that, Craig?
I think we can work into changing our permit process to include some of that, yes. I'm not sure about the engineered drawing, but I'll check with the city attorney on that.
Well, hey, it's our street. They want to drill through it. We can require whatever we want for a permit. You know, I get in commercial jobs all the time. They require architectural drawings to change a furnace. You know, I mean, some municipalities, you know, I just did one in Grand Rapids. They required an engineering drawing to change a furnace in a house. It's ridiculous, but I had to provide it. So, you know, that's the rules of the city when you pull the permit. So I think we're within our rights to request that. And definitely we're within our rights to require a performance bond and a copy of their liability before they start any project.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Montgomery.
Yeah, so I was just going to add to Councilman DeWitt, Mike. That's exactly why it shocks me that they would push back on a municipality like this, because we can change those permit requirements. Have they given the city attorney any indication on why they're pushing back on this, Craig?
They're going to fight to say that there wasn't marked properly.
Have they given us detail as to what they feel wasn't marked properly? Have they given us photographs that indicate it may not have been marked properly?
No.
Okay.
So at this point, Mr. Bessinger, you're looking for directives from council to either settle or for the attorney to return back to the table?
Correct.
Okay. So what is the consensus of council at this point? I've heard from a couple of you. to pretty much keep moving forward with this. What are your thoughts? Councilmember Sias?
I agree. I think we should not settle, move forward with this. Yeah, I don't see why the taxpayer should be bailing out AT&T. It's just another example of big corporation is trying to beat up a little guy. So I think we should push forward.
Okay. Anyone else?
Your Honor.
Yes.
Yeah, I would agree with Councilman Fias.
Okay. Councilmember O'Donnell.
I agree. We need to keep pressing this issue. Also, I have no report and I do need to leave for work.
Okay.
So if
All
with
right.
the council, with your
Thank
permission.
you. I'm glad you were able to stay this long. Councilmember Bliss.
The only comment I have is, yeah, I think it's just the big corporate AT&T just trying to push us around. And I think they're just hoping we settle so they can save some money, but the big issue is how much do we pay our city attorney to keep fighting this? Is it worth it to keep paying the city attorney to try to get our money, the whole amount back, 46,000? They want to settle for 50%, so they want 23. So AT&T, of course, they're millions and billions. They don't really care about the money. They're just trying to have us not, for them not to pay anything because they're greedy. So, but I guess the question is, how much more is it going to cost us to pay our city attorney to fight it?
We're asking for city attorney fees if we win.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Councilmember Montgomery, did you have a question?
Yeah, so I was just gonna mimic what Craig said, that I would imagine we'd ask for city attorney fees. It's pretty common for any boring company, which is, I believe, what they were doing, right? They were directional boring, Craig.
Correct.
So run through cities or stormwater drains is pretty common. Bore crews think they can miss the sewer, miss the storm runoff. Did they hand expose it prior to boring, Craig?
No, it's 13 feet down, 10 or 13 feet down.
Okay, so I would have to review the MISTIG law, but I thought they're supposed to hand expose, if they're going to be within 5 feet of it.
I don't think they did.
Okay. Councilmember Sias.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, even looking at what it's going to cost with attorney fees or whatever, I think we just need to set precedents with AT&T to show other companies like AT&T, other municipalities that, you're going to be pushed around. So even if we were paying, but Craig corrected that, but even if we were paying lawyer costs on this, I think it's good that we continue forward.
Okay.
But we of course are not paying lawyer fees,
So Mr. Buzzinger, do you have the directive of council at this point?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. Any additional reports, Mr. Buzzinger?
That was it, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll just go across the screen. So we'll start with Councilmember DeWitt for reports.
Just a thought I want to throw out there. With police and yeah, I can never get your name right. But anyway, with that bridge engineer, I wonder if, we've had two different companies. There are a lot of companies out there. It seems like the reports are inconsistent, and I have a lot of questions about it. I question whether or not we should have a third opinion on the bridge. So instead of approving the inspection report for Police and Vanderbrink, perhaps we should open that up for bids and look at, I wouldn't necessarily advocate going back to Williams. We've had their reports. There are other companies out there. I'm really concerned with some of these reports I've been reading, and I just want to throw that out there if that's something that the city council would entertain as far as looking at a third party. Then we have reports that we got apples and oranges. At this point, we need more clarification in my mind. I just want to throw that out there. The other thing is, thank you guys for voting for the Harbor Transit. It definitely is a need at this point because our ridership obviously is way down with the COVID thing. We're going to have to struggle at this point as far as the budget. I don't know what the funding formula will be because our ridership is down. It doesn't seem to be affected much at this point. That can change in a heartbeat. So I appreciate you guys approving that funding in the report.
Thank you. Moving down to Councilmember Blease.
I will not be able to attend the Monday, March 15th meeting.
Okay.
The next planning committee meeting, our February one got canceled, but it looks like we'll have a March 1, March 4th, Thursday, March 4th, and a report.
You have an MPO meeting also, correct?
Oh, yep. That should be in a couple days, Wednesday, the 17th.
All right, that's what I thought.
I haven't
Thank
got an
you.
updated email on it, but I attended the last meeting.
Mhm.
So I thought they said they were going to have a February one also.
I appreciate your continued attendance at those meetings. It's really
Yep.
critical with talking with MDOT and that. I know that Mr. Buzzinger has continued over all of the years to attend the MPO technical, but
Yeah.
the policy committee is important also.
Yeah.
So, okay, moving, were you complete?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Done.
Councilmember Montgomery.
So I will start by saying that last year I attended a Paradigm meeting with my work, but with the Ferrisburg Police Fire Chief, and they're all virtual this year. They just had one in Holland last week, but they're holding one in Ludington again virtually early March. I would encourage all of you guys that aren't familiar with the city requirements for MISTIG process to definitely attend one of those, especially because we have a pretty significant pipeline running under our city. So I'll be attending that in March. Next or later this week, we have our rec commission meeting. Hopefully we will be reviewing and finalizing a master plan or at least a broad strokes master plan that we can bring to a town hall meeting. And we'll be discussing unique ways that we can do that virtually and still ensure we get community involvement. And then last thing I have is this week, I believe it's this weekend. I'd have to check my calendar. I'll be doing the weekender through the MML. So I look forward to that.
Good. Keep us posted on that one. I used to present at it. Well, when we were in person. So
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll do a really nice job being a virtual. So
it'll definitely be interesting being virtual.
Mhm. Quick question, Councilmember Montgomery. At our last council meeting, you had spoken that you were going to be meeting with a gentleman through the Grand Rapids Rec Commission. Were you able to connect up with him?
Actually, I meet him Wednesday afternoon.
Okay. All right.
He's the founder of the Friends of Grand Rapids
Mhm.
Parks.
Right.
But he specializes in diversity and inclusion within, the Grand Rapids Park system. So
Right.
I look forward to having that conversation with them and bringing whatever we discussed back to our rec commission meeting on Thursday.
Okay. And then update council the next time that we meet, please.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Carlson.
Yes, Kitchell and Festoon Preserve Board meeting tomorrow night at 6:30, open to the public. online, of course. And then question for you, Mayor, and that is both you and I serve on the police commission or police law enforcement board or whatever else. Is anything going to be happening since we're having a new sergeant, or is that a commission that the city needs to disband?
I can't see disbanding it. I have not heard of anything, but I believe that there could possibly be something in the near future with the new sergeant on board, so that the collaboration between the communities can still continue. Mr. Bessinger, could you check on that to
Sure
find
will.
out with? Because I think that would be a wonderful opportunity to get to meet the new sergeant. I've heard wonderful things from other officers and retired officers from Ottawa County. So look forward to meeting with her. So.
Thank you.
Councilmember Montgomery, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry, Your Honor. I was just going to ask if there's going to be any sort of a meet and greet for people to meet the new sergeant.
As soon as we hear something, we will definitely get the word out there, because it's gonna be very important for all of us to, and for this one person to get to know all of us, because there's a lot of us for her to get to know. Okay. Thank you for your patience, Councilmember Sias.
No report, Mayor.
No report? Okay.
No,
I have
no.
just, pardon me?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I just have a few things. Just want to wish Sergeant Kick much success in his new endeavors after he retires this Friday from Ottawa County, and then welcome in our new Sergeant White to the Ferrisburgh Spring Lake Village Department. Sounds like people on council are eager to get to meet her also. Last week after the soft opening of Betty Jean Sweets, I stopped in and I met her, Lisa, and she's really excited to have this opportunity to have a place in the city of Ferrisburgh. So if you haven't stopped by there, I encourage you to stop by. She's got a lot of yummy stuff. I've also participated in the Future Energy informational presentations from the Grand Haven Board of Light and Power. I encourage, if you haven't attended any of them virtually, then their last one is February 23 at 7 p.m. Last week, city manager and I participated in collaboration with Spring Lake Township and Spring Lake Village. We used to do these more frequently when we met in person. This one was done via Zoom, and it was just touching base with each community and seeing what the future holds for each of us. I also attended the Ottawa County Equity and Equality meeting, which is a very large collaboration with, I want to say, all of the communities or most of the communities, large and small, throughout Ottawa County. It was a really good discussion with that. I just accepted an appointment to the Ottawa County Brownfield Development Authority Board also. And as you know, I continue to work with MDOT since I was elected, presented with different opportunities and Lansing with them. And in regards to the new, we spoke of it a little bit earlier in our discussion today, with the bridge bundling, Ferrisburgh Smiths Bridge is number 64 out of a list of 120 bridges. We fall into the category of serious critical conditions because our bridge is opened. They do have a classification for bridges that are closed, and then it moves down past the critical stage. And in that discussion, it's a non-partisan. This means that MDOT is representing all communities across the state, large and small, whether you're Democrat, Republican. They're not looking at that. They're strictly looking at the structures, the bridges to be placed into this new initiative with the bridge bundling. So I think it's pretty phenomenal that Ferrisburgh got selected to be part of that initiative. Fingers crossed that the governor passes this by September. And also with that is a shout out to past Councilmember Twa and Councilmember Blease for their continued attendance with the MPO, because that's been a moving factor in this also, which has been lacking under the former leadership, which is sad to say. But now Ferrisburgh's back at the table and we're trying to get some things moving. Also, Clerk Wieringa has sent out a note, has sent out reminders to us please, please, council members, return your packet, your empty weekly packets. She has a box outside her office door. You can drop them off in the drop box. Trying to make it pretty easy. So that's it. End of report. Have a great night.
Motion to adjourn.
So,
Support.
all right.
Support.
Night.
Night.
Yep.